Welcome back in to another episode of the Spaceman 2.0 Phoenix Truth Rising show. Here to help you grow in the knowledge and wisdom of truth, and the truth will set you free. With the best history lesson and spiritual insights on the planet, exposure of the Illuminati's plan of world conquest and control is the death knell to the New World Order. So getting back on into God 2 Has a Plan, 2000 Divine Plan, Volume 2. Continuing on with the history of the Iraqi War in 1992 and Jimmy Carter and what he said back then. Some things going on with the BNL, the bank in Italy, using that as a money laundering place for Saddam Hussein and the Bush to have joint bank accounts, and how this communist regime is continuing its ugly head wherever we go. No plea bargain. And his wife standing last week with a toddler on her hip in the front yard for a $200,000 home in Avondale Estates would not talk about her husband. Mr. Drugel recently filed for protection under federal bankruptcy rules to keep creditors from seizing their home. Mr. Drugel, who was charged with 347 counts of fraud and conspiracy, told U.S. District Judge Marvin Shub to expect him to offer a detailed explanation of the loans today. He has no sentencing agreement with prosecutors. That means Mr. Drugel is pinning all hopes for leniency on how favorably Judge Shub, an appointee of President Jimmy Carter, views his statement. The fact that he is pleading guilty is not surprising, but it is shocking that there is no sentencing agreement, said Edward Tolley, who represents another defendant who reached a negotiated plea. In April, his bond was revoked and he was jailed, in part for his own protection. Judge Shub said, if there are other people involved in the Iraqi loan scheme, he might be better off in a safe place rather than where he is, on the outside. Mr. Drugel's road to protective custody in the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary began when he was named head of BNL's Atlanta branch in 1984. A secret set of books. Under his direction, the Peachtree Center branch office loaned nearly $2 billion to finance agricultural exports to Iraq. According to prosecutors, Mr. Drugel recorded the Iraqi loans on a secret set of books because they far exceeded the official limits imposed by BNL headquarters in Rome. Until whistleblowers called in the FBI, it had been a relatively simple matter to fund the Iraqi loans by borrowing money on the world market and paying it back as the Iraqis repaid their loans. Immediately after the scandal broke, Mr. Drugel was a model of cooperation with both his superiors and prosecutors. At the bank's request, he immediately flew from Europe, where he was on vacation, to BNL's offices in New York. There, he hired the law firm that the bank recommended. Finally, with the blessing of that firm, he waived his rights against self-incrimination and told the FBI his role in the scheme. In an interview earlier this year with Il Manifestore, a communist newspaper in Italy, he said it was his impression that former BNL General Director Giacomo Pede knew of his loans to Iraq, but when asked if Mr. Pede or others knew the details of his scheme, he said, not everything, but they knew the general direction. And when asked to comment on the Bush administration's knowledge of the Iraqi weapons program financed by BNL, Mr. Drugel said, I never understood why in Washington they tell us not to do this or that in our relations with Iraq when the State Department and Commerce Department and even the White House examined all of the licenses of exportation and approved them. So what have we here? Could this be the reason the agricultural building in Baghdad is the specific building of choice under siege by the inspectors? You have to recall that the massive loans for arms, etc., were funneled out of the United States as agricultural loans. Would it not be likely that the very important documents regarding same would be housed somewhere in Iraq's agricultural department buildings? Ponder it. I release you now to shore up the loose objects and mat the computers. If necessary, someone should perhaps make a trip into the city to make sure all instruments are latched down. I do not see enough care being taken with our project equipment. Thank you. HATONN to clear, please. Chapter 7, Recording 1, HATONN, Friday, July 24th, 1992, 2:27 p.m., Year 5, Day 343. Wonderment, wanderings. This moment is the last of all, having gone before. It is also the beginning of all, which is yet to come. What will you make of this moment? It's very deep. HATONN is quite the deep guider. This moment is the last of all, having gone before. It is also the beginning of all, which is yet to come. What will you make of this moment? Again, seek you first the kingdom, what Christ is trying to teach you, which is basically staying in the present moment and realizing you have everything you need under God's goodwill. Confusion. You want to know all the answers. No, you do not, or you would study your lessons so that you can see the sequence unfolding before you. Because remember, it's all about sequence of events. It's not about a timeline of particular timing or time, but the timing has to do with a sequence of events. And usually as the elites rule it by the stars, millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. The adversary is the prince of confusion. There can be no negative input or fear brought upon you except in confusion, for how else can you become helpless victims? Confusion is the primary tool of choice, and it is utilized with a myriad of distractions. Therefore, let me give you some clues to attend and see if you had noticed and if you can relate each to the others. It is a wondrous game if you but consider it objectively. NASA update. NASA means to deceive in Hebrew, by the way. I'm showing you some images from above, which might be more than what we bargained for and hidden in plain sight. We might not even realize it, what's hidden up there in the image of the moon. Moon, they do moon magic where they mirror things. Well, if you flip the moon and mirror it, you'll see something quite peculiar starting to show up. NASA update. Late yesterday evening, we had several reports from ones who had contacts within the NASA community, some at very high levels of management. The word has gone out to higher echelons to secretly spread the word of top secret activities, and the terms utilized are: tell the people you contact and your families and close friends to not panic, but on the 26th to 27th, there will be a period of total darkness with no electric power and a shutdown of all electrical equipment. The notification is to not to go outside your immediate family's units. Well, we are close family units, are we not? This should mean to you that the government and NASA are on top of everything coming down. Next alert. There is a top secret test of FEMA tomorrow, 25th, and this word is straight out of Vandenberg, among other places. There will be a period of at least 4 full hours where FEMA will be placed in total control of the nation. Could this have anything to do with null time, no power, riot control, and earthquakes? Better look very, very closely. This will be a nationwide sweep of the systems. This is so top secret that when ones were questioned on the inside, the reaction was one of total astoundment. And how in the hell did you get that information? No one knows that. Obviously, secrets don't get kept very well any longer. Shake, rattle, and roll. Caltech has now issued a formal alert to all participants in fire department, emergency preparedness, rescue forces, etc., that there must be total alert for the San Andreas and is going to go at a level of 8 to 12 points within the next 144 days, but expectation is within the next hours or immediate days. This is a little less spooky and accepting because one of our own people was one of the ones notified directly. Iraq wars. Iraq's ambassador said emphatically that there will be no war. He said this twice on Larry King's show last evening. How can he be so sure? Because word is out that it is a personal thing with Bush to bomb the agricultural building in Baghdad. Therefore, Mr. Bush has to get the other nations of the Council UN to set it up and make the order. But this won't be so good because Mr. Bush has been informed that if there is war over this, all information regarding all bank deals, weapons buildup through the agricultural departments, etc., will be made known. Records are carefully kept and inspectors will be demanded from other than inspector team members, and they will be taken to the exact location of duplicates of all transactions. I would guess, therefore, that it is a bit more awkward than simply ordering up a bombing raid. I do note, however, that most of the we the people questioned on the street are fully in favor of going back to war to get Saddam. Banking maneuvers. Please note, states, what is happening in California? There is still no budget and banking chits, IOUs, are now going to be refused, starting with Bank of America. This is far more important than that which seems obvious. This coming weekend seems to be heading up to the most interesting if some of the plans don't get botched. Earthquake. The big one. All scientific registers on scientific equipment points to within these immediate 24 hours, not 144 days, for this big shaker in California. I'm sorry, Cellas, but we aren't getting much information regarding quakes, etc. from elsewhere than California. We note the rest of the country is being beaten with weather traumas and flooding. The NASA information, however, came straight from NASA headquarters, not California. If you must go tromping about and wheeling and dealing in the coastal areas of the Pacific and along the coastal areas of the Atlantic, take your emergency gear, food, and clean water with you at all times. If they pull off major shakers on you along with an electric grid shutdown, you're going to be somewhat inconvenienced. I'm afraid. Highways are not expected to remain open, especially with FEMA in control, for the first thing which will happen is a closing of highway traffic. You ones can argue with me about how, and I have to go, so go. Just expect to be blasted, battered, and torn, and probably hungry if you don't prepare. I can see your tendency to defy God, but FEMA? I spread fear? I just suggest you be on your good manners and behaviors as you say goodbye to ones who travel tomorrow, like as if it will be the last time you see them, if you be in one of the stricken areas. If vacations won't wait, then priorities are somewhat disordered, I would suggest. No, I can't tell you when, then it would be okay. You are getting what everyone is getting, and more upon which to make your choices and decisions. You might well say, God will warn me if, my, and what makes you think this is not that warning? I would say that the adversary's plans are working precisely the way laid forth. Confuse, fatigue, and when you give up, strike. I note that ones in my own immediate team have already headed into the coastal area for confounded seminar to push the book Committee of 300. I would note that Dr. Coleman, the author of that book, canceled his own participation in the conference. He does get inside information, and I would take that as a great clue and warning. Having said that, on the next page here, it talks about the new deadly new man-made virus, HICRV, which this is back in 1992, and what are they getting ready for in Singapore? Criminalizing anyone who does not accept the jabbery-do, anyone that goes against it. If they say we have to do this because of this pandemic is coming in, you have to get this. If you go against it, you're going to be going and getting a fine and going to jail in Singapore. That's 2025 news. Good books to note. I am informed from America West that the book Immaculate Deception, of which I have recently been writing, should be ready for distribution by the 15th of August. I do, indeed, highly urge you to get this volume, for it is equal in high-level information to the Committee of 300 output. Are there some errors? Indeed. That is why you have been given so much other information against which to sort and discern. Sharing and probing is the only way you will ever find the story taking shape in correctly factual presentation. HICRV, deadly new man-made virus. No, this is not a backwater Hicks recreational vehicle. This is some stupid label indicating that they have developed a nice new retrovirus, which will ultimately be more deadly than HIV, all of them. You will find that it will miraculously and coincidentally match that which the shuttle crew was supposedly working on in space. No, you are just being introduced to the next form of the last great plague, which reminds me to remind you that the Phoenix Journal AIDS, The Last Great Plague, is one of the books trying to be banned by the adversary, along with the Pleiades Connection series, because our colleague Walter Russell wrote a few chapters therein. By the way, when the lifelines go down to the coastal areas, these diseases will contaminate everything. I suggest you sit quietly down now and get things squared away a bit with God. What in the world do you have that is so all fired important to get done right now? You've waited this long. Cannot your travels and games wait a bit more days until at least the officials give you a bit of an all clear?